Welcome to another episode of the Transforming Life panel podcast. I am one of your hosts, Sharmin Prince, and today we have both Mitzi and Kate here with us. Welcome, Mitzi. Welcome, Kate. I hope that you had a great week. And customary for us, we start our podcast with a grounding exercise. And I'll ask Kate to do that for us. Kate, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sharmin. Yeah, if it feels right for you to close your eyes, please close your eyes or just rest the gaze off the tip of your nose. And just allow your breath in and your breath out. And as you bring in breath with awareness and with intention, and feel your feet on the ground, just to see if it's possible to be with whatever is arising for you. And as whatever is percolating or bubbling comes up, is it possible to just allow it to release? And with each breath, just to shift from getting here to being here and being aware of whatever is calling your attention will be there when this is completed. But for now, if you can just be present. Thank you, Sharmin.
Thank you, Kate. I almost fell asleep there. So, how have you guys been? Today we don't have a guest, so we'll be talking with each other, updating our audience on what we've been doing, what we're working on, how this year has been for us thus far. We need to have that conversation. So, over to any of you.
Well, I had a great week last week. It was fairly busy on the real estate side of things, so that was great, keeping me busy. We're starting to head into the spring market, which is always an exciting and busy time. And I got a couple of children's books that I've been working on published to Amazon. So that was it was a good and successful week. It was one of those weeks where I had a long list of things to do and didn't get them all done, but I did manage to make some good strides on some of the things and have to circle back to get some of the other things finished. How about you guys?
Sharmin?
I've had a good week. Despite last I think it was the 27th, I had something that came up that really upsetted me, but I'm so proud of myself that I overcame it like very quick, and that's not me. Usually I'll be thinking, not sleeping, but I am so proud of myself that I dealt with it when it came. I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I have other things to focus on. And I moved on, and I am surprised at myself. So I know that that's evidence of growth. I did something that I've never done before. I submitted an abstract to an academic society. And doing that, I actually submitted it last night because everything that happened to me surfaced. No, you can't do this. And look at the list. Everyone is a professor from a university, has a PhD. No, you are out of your league. But there is this one person on LinkedIn that kept every day telling me to apply, submit your abstract. And I made every excuse. And I think it's a male. He did not accept my excuses, and he just kept encouraging me. So eventually I said, you know what? I am going to try. It's either yay or nay. And either way, I did it, and Of course, it's about gender-based violence, and I choose a topic about AI being a double-edged sword for gender-based violence, because it will raise awareness, it will help us to introduce prevention, but deep fake technology where you can just take off someone's head and they are over. I think the last figure I read yesterday was over 800,000 videos of women who are not a part of the pornography industry, but their heads are there. This deep fake does that, right? So I would, once I am able to, or once I'm accepted, that would be my presentation on deep fake and how artificial intelligence can be a double-edged sword to gender-based violence and women. So as we continue, we'll talk. Kit, you?
Wow, 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 wow. Both of you, my goodness. Congratulations, Mitzi, on getting, did I hear you say children's book submitted? That's pretty amazing.
I did. Yeah, I'm working on a few of them.
Incredible. And Sharmin, I just get that visual, you know, where the small circle is where we're comfortable and that bigger circle is where there's growth. And then that big circle, when it's too big, is overwhelm. And it really sounds like you stepped out of that small circle and into that next circle. And maybe it was even pushing the edges, but you submitted. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And what a
Thank you.
what a topic. I had no idea. I'm so far removed from AI and all of that ew. Like that's the only word that comes to mind is just ew. Yeah. So I work in the, well, I don't really, but what's really coming to mind is like this is the end of the first quarter of 2024 if we were to look at quarters. That just is amazing to me that we're already into March and it feels like it was just New Year's Day. And honestly, I just feel like I'm starting to shift into, like, I'm still saying Happy New Year's to people and they're laughing at me like I'm like, what? And it's like, well, I haven't seen you. Happy New Year. And they're like, that's over, Kate. Like, what are you doing? And I feel spacious and light and excited. And I'm really looking forward to whatever will be. And yeah, and I've already been traveling, speaking at conferences already in 2024. I have so much lined up for 2024, which is so lovely. I've really feel committed to me. Like I really feel committed to me. I have another podcast that is my solo venture that I don't give love to. And I sat down and I actually wrote out a year at a glance of what I want to share this year over there. And then I just went on and kind of committed to anyone who listens, like I'm committing to this. So hold me accountable. And that feels really good. And it just feels like things that I want to share and things that I want to learn about and people who I want to bring on who will teach me those things. So that feels really exciting. And then I have my growth plan, the things that I'm learning this year and somatic experiencing. I head off next month to begin that journey. And that just feels so exciting. And then when Sharmin and I were just catching up just before we came on, I was sharing about just how I love walking alongside people as they walk alongside themselves and how we're all walking together in this space of healing. And I'm just so grateful every day that I get to wake up and work in the realm of helping people understand their trauma with love. And I knew I always wanted to work with trauma, and I knew that I never wanted to work from the lens of less than. And I feel that's where my roots are really, really deepening this year. And it just feels so beautiful.
That's awesome. Awesome. You know, as you were saying, you know, we're heading at the end to the end of the first quarter. And it's like, you know, it's so true that as we get a little bit older, which we're all doing unless the alternative. So we all want to get a little bit older every day. But I found for sure that as I've gotten older, it's like the years go by so much faster than they did. I mean, I really noticed it started once I had kids, because you're forward planning so much, because, you know, you have a kid and it's like, okay, now you need to start thinking about getting them into kindergarten, like, you know, 3 years in advance, because there's such, you know, waiting lists and things like that. So you start this kind of always having to forward plan so much. And then, you know, as you go through raising your kids, it seems to accelerate. And now, even though they're out of the house, it just seems that it's the same thing. It's just like the years go by fast. The days, sometimes it's like you blink and the day's gone, and it's like you only got like a third of the things you needed to. They always say, what is it that you overestimate what you can do in a day, but underestimate what you can do in a year? And it's so true. It's so true. And the monkey wrenches that other people throw into our plans, right? And we don't have control on everything that occurs, you know, around us and in our life. So it can take us off into tangents. And I have a little bit of ADHD, so I wander off on tangents quite easily. But Sharmin's point about artificial intelligence and how it, you know, these deep fakes and these things are affecting, it's so true. Like, I'm really involved in the artificial intelligence and doing a lot of research into it. And it is exciting what can be done, and it's terrifying what can be done and what is being done, you know. And there are two sides of the same coin, right? Like, and because we are such a global world now, trying to regulate it is a nightmare, because, you know, a lot of the times when people are making these deep fakes and doing these types of things, they're in other countries that don't really regulate and don't really care, right? But they come and they prey on, you know, North American people, and in particular, a lot of, like, you know, seniors and vulnerable people really get preyed upon by some of these things. And I just heard, actually, I was just on a presentation with somebody from crime and stuff, and they're saying, you know, now they're going to the extent, right, they're like, they record people's voices, and then, you know, they call the grandmother or something with their grandchild's voice, saying that they're in trouble, right? Like, it used to be that they'd get a call and you couldn't tell, or they'd send a text or something, but now they can replicate the voice, right? So it's a huge issue. And I think what you brought up, Sharmin, it's such an area that needs so much exploring and regulation, and it's going to be hard to do.
Definitely. I don't think that especially the North America can control what's happening right now with artificial intelligence, because now that they're fighting to implement laws, no one knows what is being done in the other countries. But there's so much benefit to humanity that artificial intelligence offer that was non-existent before. So I don't think that the technology is bad. It's the people who are behind it and who has it in their hands that are doing things that, you know, that if some of them are inhumane. And of course, women are always at the brunt of everything. They're more affected by it. But switching gears, when kids began talking about her plans for 2024, this is my first year in a very long time that I decided I am not creating goals for myself. I am not creating a plan. I am just going to, whatever falls in my plate, I'm going to participate. I don't want to plan. And the abstract that I spoke about was not a part of my plan. On the 1st of March, I was on Women Road Warriors. Kathy, that was here last week, their podcast, and I have not done an interview in years. And that was so refreshing. And I'm like, oh, but I did not have a plan. And things are just falling into place. And I think they're the right things for me, because usually I have a plan and I'm looking at my plan. And if I'm unable to tick something off of the list, it begins to bother me and I become obsessive, and I don't have that level of stress to attain and to achieve. And it feels so good. It feels so peaceful. It feels right. I am excited of the remainder of the year. Yes, it's March. After the 16 days of activism last year, I decided that there is something that is needed, and I created a gender-based violence survival ABC. And just like how the kids have the ABC card, I created an ABC card, and I started to work on the dictionary to accompany the ABC card. And I am so proud of myself that I finished it. And we're just in the first quarter of the year. I am excited about what is to come for the remaining of 2024.
I think it's great what you said about being true to yourself. And, sometimes we, as you say, you make this whole, agenda of what the year is going to be and your plans for the year and your goals and your accomplishments. And some people find that very empowering to sort of know the path that they're on. But it's so awesome that you are in tune with yourself to know that at this time, what you need is to be more free flowing and open to possibilities and opportunities and experience life in that way. And, kudos to you for realizing that that's what you needed and embracing it, because so often, right, it's like, pounded in your head, oh, you need to have a plan and you need to lay out your goals and have your big goals, your little goals, and right. And it's like, that's not right for everybody. And maybe it's right for you 6 years, and for the next 2 or 3 years, it isn't, right? You have to be in tune with yourself and listen to your gut instinct and your little voice inside. And I think that that's one of the big things, that as we age, we kind of lose it, and then we realize we've lost it and we try and refine it again. Because I think when we're young, we get all these gut feelings and things, and we're much more open to intuition and dreams and things like that. And then it kind of gets like driven out of us in school, and kind of reminds me of there was a song, the Logical Song, but we had to study it in high school, but it sort of talked about how they try to form everybody into the same, right? And so we kind of lose it. And then as we age and we get to know ourselves and we experience life, we then kind of circle back. And I think that that's why, the work that Kate does and the work that you're doing, that we're all doing, like, as people get to a certain age, they start to explore those things again. It really is that life cycle of circling back. What's old is new again.
I love it. And I love to also, I rarely have a plan. So this is very new. However, I don't have what I can honestly say is, at the beginning of the year, I put in, like, I'm just looking at my whiteboard over there, and in the middle of it, it says, watch me grow 2023, it said. So I haven't even put up 2024 yet. And then there is big, broad, on a Post-it, just things that, just big broads, right? Like big and broad, launch blank. Big and broad, there's a system that I need to learn. So that's there. And not how I'm gonna get there, not when I'm gonna get there, just over, just allowing the flow of this is. And if it doesn't happen that year, honestly, that Post-it will stay up, and 2024 is coming, right? I need to put 2024 up. But I think it was 2019, I share often, January 2019 was, it came very clear, Kate, you need to understand the feminine because you live in the masculine. And it came from some other source of just so clearly. And in hindsight, and I've shared this often, I realized how entrenched in the masculine I was, that I didn't even know what that meant. And I honestly went and looked for books and courses and how to be in the feminine. And I don't know what is more masculine than looking for the tick box, the courses, and the books on how to. So that was a huge like shakeup for, was that you're not gonna, and the funniest thing is, I love the universe, because the funniest thing is now I can find a million things on, how to claim the feminine. But when the message came so clearly, this is what you have to do, I could not find it anywhere. I could not. It was like the universe, I don't know what happened, but I couldn't find anything. And now, as I understand what it means to be in the feminine, I can access books, and everyone's reclaiming the feminine. I just find it so peculiar. And then it was August 2019, and I always go to the river, and this river is vast and huge and powerful and phenomenal. And there's a mountain there. And this mountain, and my kids say all the time, and I'm probably shared it here too, please don't tell the mountain story, Mama, because they're going to think you're like, and this mountain has been teaching me since then to surrender. It really was the message of the mountain, was to surrender. And again, I didn't know what that meant. I was like, there's no way I'm letting somebody else in control. I don't even know what surrender means. I have to power through. And I had no idea what surrender meant. And I'd keep going back to this mountain, and these things that this mountain teaches me and shows me, and who comes when I'm there. Like that, the day of that, there was, I was on my knees, like I was weeping. And when I stood up, there was an eagle had walked in front of me, and like his feet marks were through the sand. And this mountain has showed me things like the water that's flowing off the top of this huge mountain is the same water that's at your feet in the river, that is the same water that flows through you. Like it has just shown me these beautiful lessons of how and what surrender means. And then I have a teacher that has so beautifully shared, the universe wants to co-create with you. Right? Whatever you're putting out into the world, the universe wants to co-create that with you. So what does that look like to surrender into the universe? So I just love, I love what you shared, Sharmin. I love what I really hear is that you're entering that forest, and there's the path, and that you're following that path, whatever that might look like. And you have maybe a sense of, but you don't have a sense of. And you're excited for where that path's going to take you.
Yes, 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 yes. You articulated it so well. And it feels good, because when you said you didn't know what surrender means, I think immediately it came to mind that maybe that's what I'm doing, surrendering, because I I must have a plan. I must have a things to do list. I must have a goal, and I just decided that that's not what I'm gonna do this year. It's too stressful. And when at the end of the year, when I go through my list and I haven't achieved the goals that I've set, I'm disappointed in myself. I lose sight of all that I've accomplished and achieved, and focus on the things that I haven't achieved. So letting go and just let life happen and just live every day. And this is from being in the corporate world, that in the nights before I leave my desk, I create a list for tomorrow. I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore. I get up in the morning and I just let whatever the day brings to me, that's what I'm gonna do. And I have been more been calmer. I have been, I think, more creative, and intuitive. I am participating in something called constellations every Wednesday, and I look forward to that. And it has enhanced my intuition, because you just have to go off of your intuition during the session. It's wonderful.
What is constellations? I don't know anything about this. Could you elaborate a little bit?
So constellation is where you just have to use your intuition to participate in whatever is being done on a board. And you choose a symbol that represents you. You don't know what the symbol represents, and you have to place it on this board through your intuition. When you place it on the board, you decide if it's big, if it's small, what direction it faces, and you're present that when the other elements enter the board, how it makes you feel. And it is so magical that at the end of it, when you hear what your element represented and what the others represented, it's mind-blowing, because like there was one where I represented another member, and when money came on the board, I was angry with money. I wanted money to disappear. And it reflected my relationship and my belief system with money. But I didn't know that until after the session, and we're moving around our elements, and I was so angry with money that I wanted to swallow money. So I got close to money. I was bigger than money, and I wanted to just have it disappear. So I took it over, and at the end of it, it was money. And it helped me to think of my relationship with money. It helped me to think of my belief system with money. So you're participating blindly and unaware of what you're representing, and you just follow your intuition and you talk to each other. I may not have done justice by explaining it.
Sounds really cool.
But it is magical. Yeah, I think it's something I would love to learn it. I think it's something that is being taught in Europe. It's some because Natalia is from Sweden, and it is I credit that for making me more in tune with my intuition and more discerning. Yeah.
You mentioned something there too, which is, how things come to us from different places. When I was talking with, we had Gabby on as a guest, and she's from Hungary. And I know at some point during our conversation, one time I mentioned something to her about pickleball, which around my area, around here, like it seems like it's like, everybody's fanatical about it. And it's like everybody and their brother seems to all of a sudden be doing pickleball. And so somehow it came up in conversation. I mentioned it to her, and she was like, she'd never heard of it or seen anything about it. And I was just sort of thinking, it's like, it's such, everybody feels like they're so close and familiar, yet things are so different in different places. And we don't realize how, because we're always nowadays interacting with people from all walks of life, how different their lives can be when they're in different locations and are exposed to completely different things. a result. My son works for a couple of gentlemen in the States who are, have huge successful businesses, very young guys, they're YouTube phenomenal, guys. But it's really interesting when in the conversations, they've never left their own state, right? They've never done any traveling, like, right? It seems so weird. And then I thought, when I was a kid, like, I didn't even get on a plane till I was 19. Now I love traveling and I've traveled a lot, but we all have such different experiences that we bring to the table, and being open to receiving what is out there and coming to us from all kinds of different sources can really help us grow, and in ways that we just couldn't have years ago because we just didn't get the exposure to all those new and different things.
Yeah. 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 I was listening to a I have this software that you're able to listen to books in 20 minutes, summaries of books. And I was listening to one today, and I love Carl Jung, the psychological theorist. And um, I heard this quote in the book, and this quote, I had to stop the book and really meditate on the quote for like a good 30 minutes. And it says, "I'm not what happened to me. I am who I want to become." And that quote spoke to me and stunned me, because for the last 3 or 4 days, I have been dealing with that. Everything that happened to me showed up to tell me I am not worthy of submitting an academic paper. I am not worthy of whatever. And so I sat today and I smiled at that quote that, oh my God, I am not what happened to me. I am who I want to become. And then the question is like, who do I want to become? Or what do I want to become? And then I ask myself, can you imagine at 57 you're asking yourself that question? I wish that I had asked I was exposed to the knowledge and the understanding and the information and the wisdom that is available to me today. That I would have been able to enjoy what I'm enjoying at a young age. But would I have been able to enjoy it the way I am enjoying it and accepting me for who I am and for the journey that I've had? Because some of the things that I'm able to do, it's just because of my journey. It's just because of my life experiences. Yeah.
Sharmin, can I ask there, did you say the reflection was, I'm not what happened to me? And I would just love to offer an even, I'm just getting this vision of a camera lens and just a little sharper focus. And the work that I do, I always share, and these aren't my words, but to get curious about what happened to me versus what's wrong with me. So not that I am what happened to me, but let's take off the blinders, or let's really focus in with that camera. What did really happen to me? And in a compassionate and loving way, right? Can I be curious about what really happened to me and what did I make that mean? And I heard you really share, like, I'm not worthy of. And so, and if I could just offer, how familiar is that story of I'm not worthy of? And what happened to me that became my story? And how did making that my story keep me connected to the people who were my big people, and how did that story keep me safe? So we might have been raised where, we were told to take the high road. We might have been raised to think of everybody else before you think of yourself. We might have been raised that you never toot your own horn. We might have been raised that when you talk of self, that's self-centered and selfish, and that's not even of God. Right? It's so multi-layered whatever stories we heard as a kid, and then how we internalized them and what we made that mean, and what we made it mean about ourselves. Because it's so much safer that what is wrong is me, not what is wrong is the big people who take care of me, or what is wrong is this world that I live in. And so to just offer yourself that self-compassion and that radical, I just love this, radical self-acceptance and radical self-love, that I am not what happened to me, and I get to get curious about what happened to me, what I made it mean, how that kept me safe. And now I can, in this space, as a grown, empowered, strong, powerful woman, right? I can look back on all that I have done, and I can be in relationship with that little person, and I can let that little being know, it's safe now. It's different now. We can have a different relationship with that. And that served us and kept us, like, I know those limiting self-thoughts had to have kept me alive at different times in my life. They had to have. And I get to rewrite that now. Mm.
Mm. Thank you for that, Kate.
Mm.
Thank you for that. One thing that you said just resonated is that having that that relationship with the little person, and I think I started cultivating that connection with my younger self a few years ago, and I would do things that, of course, in private, that are very childish, and I know it's I'm nourishing my younger self, and I would laugh after that. Oh my God, and it feels so good, right? Up to yesterday, and I'm like, oh, if anyone is observing me, they may give me a label, but that's quite okay, because I just enjoyed my 5-year-old self. That's what I call it, my 5-year-old self. So yes, thank you.
When you were speaking, Sharmin, you reminded me of, and I don't know who said it, but it's something to the effect of, it's none of my business what other people think or say about me. That's their issues. It's about how I am for me, and how I feel and how I act and how I behave, and you know leading a life that works for you. And some people are going to like you, some people aren't going to like you, some people are going to think you're acting silly, or you should be doing something different. And when we're in, you think back to grade school or high school days, how you know we were so like, oh my God, I'm going to die if this friend group and you see it today with younger kids, right? Especially now with all the social media, right? Like they're craving the likes and the things like that, right? And it's like, as we become more comfortable with ourselves, realizing people are going to do whatever they're going to do. We have to look at ourselves and how we feel, and not it's none of our business what other people think. That's their issue.
And my God, I embrace my 5-year-old every day. Like the other day, I was walking my dog, and like when the curb starts to go up really high, and I found myself like walking on that high curb, right? And my dog was down low, and then I like paused for a minute. And I was like, wow, like what the heck would somebody think? And then I was like, yeah, have you ever given a shit what someone's thought? Okay, yeah, no. And who says that's just for a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old to do? Like, who said? And then I think back to Mitzi's sharing how fast time goes, right? And I know you said as we age, but my God, my kids are all in their teens and they tell me they can't believe how fast time goes. My kids, like that was never in my, they're already like, oh my God, it's going to be summer before you know it, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, time took forever for me when I was a child. And and I just so remember, and I was talking about this with somebody the other day, and they were saying, you know, this 80-year-old woman that they have in their life who, because I feel the same. Like, if you asked me how old I was, I would say, I don't know, like 20. Like, I mean, I'm a lot more comfortable in my body, but 20, like, that's really how I feel. And this woman was also sharing that she feels that way. And then she was talking to this woman who was 80, and this 80-year-old woman was saying, you know, I feel that I'm 20, but then I look in the mirror and I'm like, who the heck is that in the mirror? And so I don't know that. I don't know. Like, I don't know, right? I think it's glorious if, and then I see the flip side where I've met people who are like 27 and it's like they're already 90. So I just feel if I can pull and weave all the fun things and, you know, go in the forest and explore and walk on the high curbs and dance, and that's the point.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as you were talking, I was thinking back to whenever I go for walks, whenever I go by where there's swings in the parks, I hop on the swing. I love swinging. Like, I have since I was a kid. I'd hop on the swing. And I remember when the kids were little, right? I'd take them and I'd get on the swings and go with them. And they're like, Mom, you're too old. And I'm like, you're not too old to have fun. Like, you gotta like enjoy. And now, of course, I mean, they're very used to it. We go for walks and they know, oh, we're coming down to a swing. Mom, we're gonna lose Mom for a minute. She's gonna go. And often they'll come and they'll join me and get on the swings too. But I know that when I do that, it brightens my day. Like, it just adds fun to it. And, you know, so whatever that looks like for you, if it's walking up on the curve, if it's going on swings, if it's, you know, playing ball with your kids or your dog or whatever, like, find those moments where you can just let yourself go and have fun and just, you know, let it all go. Like, I remember once I was at a conference, and it was an insurance conference. So, you know, like the bankers and the suits and it was like, I don't know, 90% men there. And we were in Florida, and the conference center was way far away from where like our rooms were. And it was like a torrential downpour. Like, I mean, like, you know, like you couldn't see in front of you, it was raining so hard, but it was really warm. It was like 32 degrees or something like that. Like, it was really, really warm. And I just sort of looked and I was like, I see everybody, you know, with their umbrellas and stuff. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to get drenched no matter what I do. So I just was like, embraced it. And I took off my shoes and I went running in the rain. And it was one of the best, most fun, awesome times I've ever had.
And I'm listening to you, Mitzi, when you talk about the swing. If I see a swing and I can get on it, I channel my child, my little person, because I'll swing and I just wouldn't sit on the swing. I would, we used to call it stand and pump the swing, right? So I have to stand and pump the swing. So when I go to Connecticut to my niece has a swing on her property, and I spend hours there until my hands, because you know it's chain, until my hands is sore, my hands are sore. That's when I stop. And then I'll sit and I'll rock, and then I stand again and I pump the swing. So the swing, I channel my inner child. And there's some things that I do, I know it's my inner child, and I am not afraid to embrace my inner child. And, you know, to our listeners, I know that society does not allow us and afford us the opportunity to embrace the little people inside of us. But we have to take that moment and stop suppressing the child in us and do the things that motivates and inspires our and even connect us to that child in us, because we all have them. And I hope yours is not frozen and you're able to I usually say unthaw, thaw your frozen child out and just embrace him or her and have fun.
I would encourage all of our listeners, if you're listening to this, you can tell that we're sort of on this theme. So if the opportunity comes for you, go out, hop on a swing and enjoy it, or go running in the rain, or walking on the curb, or playing hopscotch, or just do something to embrace your inner child that gets you moving and happy and carefree, and let yourself go and have some fun.
So in closing, Keith and Mitzi, this has been so good. Thank you. Thank you. There's so much that we didn't get a chance to talk about all that we're doing, but that's fine. We'll have another opportunity to do that. But I know that our listeners are encouraged. Like, these grown women are talking about their inner child and how they embrace it. Yes, it's to encourage you to do the same.
Indeed, 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 indeed. I go to the forest every day. Every day it's part of my daily practice, and I climb on fallen logs and explore mosses and leaves, and it's wonder. It's wonder. I would even offer that. Where is the wonder in your life? Where is the wonder? And I'm sure that you are taking somewhere that is the wonder when you're pumping on that swing, Sharmin, and when you're swinging. Hi, Mitzi. I'm sure there's glimpses of wonder.
Yes, yes. Well, we're out of time, but we're not out of ideas and topics to discuss. Tomorrow, our episode with Kathy Takaro is going to be aired. And so I want to encourage our listeners to subscribe and review and like and share. Until we see you next week, have an enjoyable day or night. Thank you for joining us.